Welcome. My name is Gary McGee and I've prepared this short presentation on behalf of HDL Ltd to explain the enhanced site measures which have been introduced to control COVID-19 on the construction sites of our clients. This presentation has been prepared for the HDL site workers, and it's hoped that by the end of this session they will understand the enhanced safety measures for COVID-19 employed by all of our customers on sites. We hope that they will feel confident that they can work on sites safely, adhering to all of the site rules and measures, and that they will know where to get further support if they require it. The presentation will start with an introduction outlining the current situation with sites and what workers will need to do in order to return to work safely. We'll then move on to the contents of each of the sections in the HDL Risk Assessments and Method Statements. These are quite weighty documents because there's a lot to get in there, and some of it is site specific. So what we've done is we've taken out the common measures, which we will cover, and it's hoped that if we can get everybody to understand the common measures, we will be able to work safely and follow all of the site rules for a number of customers. Once we've got that over, we'll then focus on certain sites that have got site-specific measures and cover those also. Preparing videos and presentations and risk assessments and method statements is all well and good. But how do we know that our workers have watched them or read them? How do we know that they've understood them? And how can we have confidence that they can adhere to the site rules and work safely? The plan that we've devised at HDL is that we will send links from this presentation, from a training video with the supervisors. We'll send them the relevant risk assessment and method statement for the site that they're going to be working on, and any other materials that they may find helpful. We'll ask them to read them or watch them, and we'll ask them to let us know when they've done so. Once we've had that confirmation, we will send each of the site workers 5 questions in order to check their understanding. When we've received the answers to these 5 questions and we're satisfied that they understand it, then we know that they have the competence that they can go on site and work safely. Obviously, we'll still have to supervise them, but at least we'll know that they've got the foundation and the knowledge. Part 1 then. What have we included in the HDL risk assessments and method statements that we've sent to all of our customers? So what is in the risk assessment and method statements prepared for work under the current COVID restrictions? The standard risk assessment and method statement prepared for HDL is about 6 to 7 pages, which are effective documents which are short enough that we can trust that people will read and understand them, and they look at all of the significant hazards and controls for them. To include the enhanced COVID-19 arrangements, these documents are now 20 to 30 pages. They're quite weighty, and they need to be, because some of the things in there can be site specific, and we want everybody to understand what they need to do to work safely. It starts with the site details, the company name, the site, the work that's being carried out, who's prepared the document, and there's a declaration there from Kevin, our managing director. Once he's happy that the document has got sufficient controls in there to manage the risks, he authorises it and we can send it to our clients. The next section is the method statement and safe system of work. This starts before you leave home. So the first section is before travelling to site. This is a special COVID measure, and it just explains that you don't go to work if you are showing any signs of the symptoms, or if you're in a vulnerable group, such as being over 70, or if you have underlying health concerns. Once you arrive at site, you may have to queue to get onto site. We're asking everybody to maintain social distancing, and there may be special signing in arrangements. You might have to sign in at a station outside of the office. You might have to sign in by text, and we have to follow and adhere to each site rule. There will be restrictions on using the site office, canteens and toilets. There will be a maximum number of people allowed in any facility at one time, and we have to adhere to those in order to maintain social distancing and decrease the risk for everybody involved. There will be rules for starting work. These will include the number of people who are allowed on a plot at one time, making sure that the plot is available. If there's somebody else working in there, you may not be able to work on that plot at all, and you might have to go on to the next one until there's space to work that is safe. There's transporting tools and equipment to work areas, which includes manual handling, which is put in as a separate section because it's one area where normally we would try and involve more than one person, but we're trying to make everything now either a safe solo activity, or if it can be done safely with two people, if they're more than 2 meters apart, then we can go ahead with this. The easy way to look at a lot of these rules is that we all know the measures for COVID-19. It's been on the news. You've had to follow them when you've gone to Tesco's, Sainsbury's, and in normal non-work life. And it's about being sensible and maintaining social distances, maintaining a high level of hygiene, so as you're keeping yourself safe and the others around you safe. Once the specific COVID measures are covered, we look at the method statement for dry lining tasks. These are not the pre-COVID ones. These include special COVID measures as well. For example, if you use reusable PPE, then that needs to be sanitized after use, and so that will be put in the method statement as well. We then go on to the risk assessments, which look at the method statement and pick out the most significant hazards and outline how we control the risks for COVID-19 for each of the tasks that we're going to carry out on site, and the cost assessments for any hazardous substances that we're going to use. All of these will have COVID specific measures in, and then there's also an operator briefing form. The operator briefing form is unlikely to be used, and we're going to use the paper trail from the emails as proof that everybody has read the RAMs and understand them. So a question then, where would I find any COVID-19 measures in the risk assessment and method statements? The answer is in every section. There is some repeating of measures. Some of the stuff that's outlined in the Safe System of Working is also covered in the risk assessments. But throughout the document, the COVID-19 measures are listed. Part 2. The measures to control COVID-19 that are common to all sites. Both HDL and our clients have spent a lot of time preparing documents. These documents are prepared to look at all significant hazards and to put controls in place that will keep everybody from harm. Our overall objective is to keep everybody safe. We recognise that the documents are 20 to 30 pages per site, and that some people will go to many sites. So there's a lot to read and understand. In addition, not all of our workers have English as their first language. So what we've done is we've read all of the documents and we've realised that many of the measures are common to all sites. We believe that if you look at the common measures in this course, and if you follow them, then you will be adhering to site rules and you will keep yourself safe. If you do not follow the enhanced safety measures and site rules, you will be sent home. Our clients and HDL are taking this very seriously, and anybody who puts anybody else at risk or puts themselves at risk will not be allowed to come back to work under the current regime. But I repeat, follow the summarised PRACED rules and you'll keep yourself safe and you'll be compliant with site rules. If after all of this, if anybody has got any concerns or if they do not fully understand anything, don't take any risks. Stop, speak to your supervisor, call the office or call me at any time. And we will give you whatever you need in order to support you. The government guidance, as I believe we all know, is that anybody who's showing any signs of the virus should stay at home and self-isolate. The first of the common site measures then is do not come to any site if you have any symptoms of the virus. If you have a headache, if you have a fever, if you have a runny nose, if you have a new cough or persistent cough, if you have a sore throat, if your body's aching or if you have flu-like symptoms, if you're feeling tired, stay at home, self-isolate. Don't come to work, stay at home and self-isolate if you're a vulnerable person, as defined by Public Health England's guidance on social distancing. This is people who are over 70, who have had a recent operation or any other underlying health issues. If you do come back to work and if you develop symptoms on site, stop, leave site, inform the site manager by text and go home immediately and social distance. You're letting the site manager know by text because the majority of sites will then arrange a deep clean for the area in which you've been working to protect other people. Another common site measure is enhanced hygiene. All of the sites expect everybody who comes to work to wash their hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds or to sanitize them with gel when they enter site, when they touch surfaces such as doors, or shared tools or materials, after blowing their noses, coughing or sneezing, before and after eating, smoking or using the toilet, or when they are visibly dirty. The NHS has given guidance on how to wash your hands thoroughly, and you start off palm to palm, then move on to the backs of your hands, in between your fingers, the backs of your fingers, your thumbs, and then the tips of your fingers. And you should do this for at least 20 seconds with soap and water. You can then use the tissue to turn off the tap and dry your hands thoroughly. To reduce the number of times you have to wash your hands, avoid touching surfaces where possible. Avoid sharing tools. All hand tools and PPE are for one user only. Paddle mixers, for example, should only be used by one person, or if there is more than one person using it, then sanitize it after each use. Everybody knows that we have to social distance, and that's the next common site measure. All sites put in their documents, and in our risk assessments and method statements, it states specifically to stay 2 meters away from all others wherever possible. This will include when you're travelling to site, avoiding public transport and travelling in one car if at all possible. Queuing to enter site, be patient and maintain a 2 meter distance. When you're working, when you're walking around site, if you're on breaks, and always if possible. In order to facilitate this, work start times and break times may be staggered to avoid congestion and to help you keep that 2 meter distance. One of the reasons it's taken some time for our clients and ourselves to prepare the documents and to come up with the measures is there were a number of areas where it's not easy to maintain social distancing. The government has given us clear guidance on this, and Public Health England and the HSE have given us guidance on this, and the current guidance for travelling is if workers have no option but to share transport, journeys should be shared with the same individuals and with a minimum number of peoples at any time. You should ensure good ventilation and keep the windows open and face away from each other as much as possible to reduce the risk of transmission. The vehicle itself should be cleaned regularly using gloves and standard cleaning products, with particular emphasis on the handles and other areas where passengers may touch surfaces. In some corridors and doorways, it may be difficult to maintain a 2 meter distance. The government, our clients and I are just saying, let's all be sensible. If somebody's coming towards you in a corridor, stand back, give way, and let the people pass with as much distance as possible. For most people on construction sites, the biggest challenge is manual handling. It's the area in which we normally encourage people to work in groups of 2 or more in order to carry heavy or awkward loads. Every effort must be made to try and make the majority of manual handling a safe solo activity. Plasterboards can be carried still with 2 people, as they will be 2 meters apart. This is also true for the hoses when rendering or the hoses when screeding. If you can still be 2 meters apart from people, if you're sensible, if you have enhanced hygiene measures, then that can still be done safely. Every effort must be made to make every other manual handling task a safe solo activity if you're within 2 meters. This can involve breaking loads down from heavy loads which you can't manage on your own into more manageable loads. It might involve the use of mechanical aids such as forklift trucks or pallet trucks or trolleys, skates and dollies. If you need to use any of this equipment, it must be planned in advance, and if it's not the site fork truck, we'll have to do a separate risk assessment and method statement and make sure that the site are happy with it and that we're not putting you at risk before we can undertake this task. And if it's still not possible to social distance while manual handling, the current Public Health England guidance for two-man tasks where social distancing is not possible is as follows. Firstly, ensure the area is as well ventilated as possible. Open any windows and doors. Secondly, keep others out of the area. Thirdly, wash and sanitize your hands before and after the task. Then, lift and carry side by side or facing away from each other rather than face to face. Make sure that these tasks are completed in less than 15 minutes without putting yourself or any others at risk. And always complete two-man tasks in the same teams. We must point out at this stage that there are sites that specifically say you cannot do this at the moment. Many of these sites are saying that this might be reviewed, but at this stage of returning to work, don't do it. So before you follow government guidance, if there's any reason why you need to be within 2 meters of somebody else, don't do it without checking. The other common measures include the following. Food, drinks, crockery and cutlery must be brought from home to avoid the need for leaving and re-entering site to use local shops. There's special arrangements on most sites for signing in and for inductions and for talking to the site manager. Follow any of these site rules and there will be signs up telling you what you have to do, and just be sensible. There will be restrictions on the number of people allowed in the canteen if it's even open, how many people are allowed in the toilet block, the drying room, the site office and so on. Again, adhere to these rules, follow them and be sensible as you would do anywhere else. There's likely to be one-way systems in place, 2 meter markings on the floor, and there will be additional client staff on the site cleaning all of the surfaces. Your role is to follow all of the site rules and just be sensible. No surprises then. All of the common measures are as you will have heard on the news, as you will have been practicing in your non-work lives, and they involve social distancing, they involve enhanced hygiene, and generally being sensible and reducing the risk of transmission of this virus. So some questions to you then. Do you understand the common site measures? If you don't, get some more information. Phone your supervisor, phone the office, phone me, and make sure you understand the measures. They're there for you to protect you and others around you. Next question then. Given this video, the slides, the risk assessments and everything else we talked about, is there anything else that you need in order to understand the common site measures? If there is, again, phone your supervisor, the office or me, let us know. Maybe if you need them, maybe everybody else needs them as well. Some open questions then. Who should not come to work and why? This is one of the common controls. Who should not come to work includes anybody showing symptoms of the virus, anybody who's got somebody in their household who has got symptoms of the virus and therefore should all be self-isolating, and anybody who isn't necessarily showing symptoms of the virus, but they're in a vulnerable group. Another open question. How could you demonstrate 2 meters? How big is 2 meters? To me, 2 meters, 6'6". I imagine that as the height of a very tall person. So when I'm 2 meters away from somebody else, I imagine a very tall person laying on the ground between us and them. I believe it's the length of a double bed. Have in your mind a way of imagining 2 meters. This will help you with social distancing. The previous section dealt with the common measures. If you can understand all of the common measures, and if you adhere to them on all sites, as well as any other site rules that are posted up, because these things are changing daily, then you will be protecting yourself and adhering to site rules on most sites. There are some sites that have got additional site-specific measures, and we're going to cover them in this section. As well as the common measures, there are some measures which are specific to one of our clients. The first one we'll look at is Bellway Homes. Their rules include only 1 person per vehicle whilst travelling, only 1 person per plot whilst working, and no activities that are allowed that compromise social distancing. Basically, in phase 1 of their return to work, they're saying nothing compromises social distancing. Once they've got people on site, once they're working, once the site measures have been tested, tried and observed, after phase 1 of the return to work plan, they are going to review this, and it may change then. But at the moment, if you're on a Bellway's home site and you can't do something as a safe solo activity, you stop. It's not allowed to have 2 people doing anything. The specific site measures on Bovis sites. Firstly, they're going to have a signing in station which is outside and covered with 1 person in it. Please obviously sign in here. If you have to queue in order to use the external signing station, be patient and maintain social distancing. The canteen, they're only allowing 3 people in at one time. The toilet block, they're only allowing 2 people in at one time. So again, if you go into the canteen, there's already 3 people there. Wait outside, queue, in the same way as you would do with your local shop. First aid, they do have first aiders on site, and they need to protect those as well. If for some reason you need first aid, call a first aider as you would do normally. Maintaining social distancing, and with their supervision, you may be asked to self-administer a plaster or to clean your own wound. We'll deal with this as it happens. Think about the first aid as yourself, and I suppose before you even get there, take good care of yourself and try and avoid the need for first aid in the first place. When you are working, they're only allowing 2 people per plot at one time. If you and a colleague are working in a plot, you must put a sign on the outside of the door stating people working, do not enter. Hayfield Homes has got mostly the common controls, but in addition to that, on their sites the canteen is closed. Operatives are being asked to eat in their vehicles or outside in the fresh air, but whilst maintaining social distancing. Like all of the others, they're asking people to bring their own food and crockery, and they're asking them not to leave site and not to use the local shops either. Whilst this is down as a specific site measure for Hayfield Homes, I wouldn't be surprised if on other sites you found certain facilities that are not essential to be closed and other measures in place. If so, they will be made clear to you and adhere to site rules. On Morris Homes sites, you'll be asked to sign in by text. The site manager's number will be displayed by the stairs to the site office, and so just send him a text to say that you're on site or you're leaving site. The canteens and toilets and any other facilities will display a maximum number of users that are allowed in at that time. Adhere to those rules. Also on Morris Homes sites, they are allowing the government guidance for essential 2-man work if there's no other way of doing it, but they've also added in there that masks must be worn for 2-man work, in addition to the other measures as outlined previously in this presentation. Remember, one of the specific measures of COVID is any PPE that is disposable should be disposed of carefully so as nobody else can reuse it. Any reusable PPE will have to be sanitised after being used. We have 3 questions we'd like to put to you before we close, but that's the end of the slides in the presentation. The first and very important question is, given the video, the slides in this presentation and the risk assessment and method statement, any other support materials that you've been sent, is there anything else that you as an operative needs in order to work on site safely and understand the rules and understand what you've got to do to protect yourself? Have we given you enough information? Do you understand the information? Do you need any more PPE? If the answer to any of these things is yes, please call your supervisor, call the office, call me, and we need to sort that out before you go back to work. A couple of open questions just to check in your own minds whether you have understood the materials in this presentation. Question: when do you need to wash your hands? The answer: on entering site, after touching doors, surfaces, shared tools and materials, before and after eating, drinking, using the loo or smoking, when you're visibly dirty, often on site generally, and when you get home. The final open question, again, this is to check your understanding. In one sentence, how would you summarise the site measures for COVID-19? There's no right answer to this. I can give you a suggestion as a guide, and my suggestion would be, from your normal work activity, we all know the measures to protect ourselves and others from COVID-19. Follow them on site and be sensible. If you do need further support, please contact the office or me at any time. My phone number is 07557 732 939, or you can text me on the same number, or you can email me at gary@gmsafety.co.uk. I hope you get back to work soon. Please stay safe. Thank you for your time and attention.